Welcome to the Glue Pod.
Hosted by Aaron Glukov.
Can we check in?
You kidding me right now? Get on your phone.
Featuring musicians, hucksters, and some of the shit.
What's going on? You asking me? Let's start the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Glue Pod and episode number 4. Happy to have my guy, Mr. Gene Gayol here.
Hey, Tammy. Thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Dude, what a pleasure. You're a fine gentleman, and we've known each other for a while, and I can't wait for all the weird stuff we're going to talk about in this podcast.
I have no clue where we're going, but I'm with you as our captain. I'm on this ride with you.
You trust me with this shit?
I trust you with my life.
What is this fine drink you've got here you're sipping on for the pod, bro?
This is called Pedialyte, which is high in electrolytes. Sometimes in life you gotta get some you gotta overload on the electrolytes, you know what I mean?
Dude, I used Pedialyte to rehydrate for my second fight. So like I cut my weight, and then like I never got back to weight in my first fight. So then people were like, oh yeah, eat pasta and drink Pedialyte. And so I went and got like a pack of Pedialyte, and I was so dehydrated. And then I drank the Pedialyte, and I don't know if it's like all the liquid rushing back into your skull, but like I had the worst headache, but it works. Really important.
And they have one that's made for athletes that comes in like a which is what I wanted, but I didn't have anymore.
Yeah.
Which is like a what do you call it? Like a pack, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just pour it in water. Yeah,
Boom.
It's good stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Well, I wanted to say congrats on all your recent successes, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, bro. Yeah,
I was watching you on the Amazon Music thing. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun, and it was just cool to make that connection, have it like an outlet to do. You know, with this whole live stream era, I'm sure you could comment on this. It's like during the pandemic, you know, I feel like these companies and these bigger whatever name brands are picking up on the whole viability of live streaming as a cool thing.
Sure.
Why didn't people was there something like that before COVID?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was it?
Well, people wanted to do live streams. Some people foresaw, I don't know who started this, but they foresaw that live stream was an opportunity to control elements on a soundstage. You have your video elements, you have all the sound dialed in, and that I think what people were thinking where things would go was for it to be a ticketed thing. And now, because of pandemic, it's more like, hey, we just want this outlet. We don't mind if we're just going on Instagram Live. We don't mind if we're doing this for free. We don't mind. You know, it's changed. But
right.
I think at the beginning, their intention was, hey, we could control our environment. It's easy. We don't have to book these crews and trucks and this and that. I think that people foresaw that going that way. So it's funny, actually, that things, unfortunately, because of the circumstances, wound up this way. But
right.
I think people wanted to do this at some point. I forgot who told me this, and it's obviously it would offend someone like you or me, but they're like, yeah, I don't like going to concerts. I would rather just be at home and watch whatever on my big 4K TV and on my sound system. And I'm like, shit. So it's like that person would pay the ticket to see whomever's band in the comfort of their home. So if there are consumers like that, I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, I guess why should we be as musicians, be precious about that when the movie industry, which is generating much more capital, they're having to adapt to streaming and people not going to movie theaters. And I mean, especially now, they're not going to movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least we can do socially distanced concerts. It's a mouthful. But yeah, I mean, what are we gonna do? You know, it's like these kind of things as technology changes. It's like we're gonna be bitter, grumpy, old 30-year-old men, whatever we are, or are we gonna adapt? You know, and it's like at any age. I mean, I'm just like, we got to make it work. You adapt. I mean, speaking of live streaming, you were busting out some awesome comedy music.
Yeah, I was trying to do that, but I've come to learn that you can't. It does not translate.
What do you mean?
You need to have the laughter in the room.
Oh, okay.
It does not work. So I've retired.
Wait, but you didn't are you speaking from the audience perspective? Like you didn't think you were getting the reaction, or you didn't like it? From
me watching those things back, it's just so weird. I mean, I'm by no stretch a comedian. I can't speak on comedian. I'm a huge consumer of comedy, and it's such a big part of who I am. I live for that stuff. But a comedian, a lot of these people in that community, and I have friends who are comedians, that they won't do it. The streaming, the what do you call it? Like live Zoom.
Right.
They won't do it because comedy is meant to be consumed in a small atmosphere, small environment with a couple people, and you have to have the laughs in the room. It's just awkward if you do something.
But I thought people were loving it, and I thought it was hilarious.
Well, thank you. There are times where it's cool and it works.
So maybe you're just being your own worst critic situation.
No, it could work, but I find that with live stream stuff, there's so many things that can go wrong with the sound. You dial it in ahead of time, it just doesn't work, So I'm retired from that now. No, I'm kidding. I honestly want to do. I want to do not so much so that was coming from a sort of an improv comedy meets music, and that was just the gist of that was I would play maybe some original songs, but I would take cues from the audience, which comes from like improv comedy, and based on I would throw out like I would say something like, what's something you're either really looking forward to or dreading in the near future? So it's like a prompt, and you can always change your prompts, but that prompt is really ripe, and people really have some cool answers to that, or funny answers. And then based on the prompt, I'll create a song, a story. I'll make it up on the spot. And sometimes it comes out really good, sometimes not so good. But the thing is that you're performing and you're being crazy, and then it's like you don't know how it feels. When we're in a room, when you and I know what this feels like, when we're playing, we're vibing. There's an energy in the room. You can feel it.
Of course.
And you play to that energy. Or you might be playing and you go, why aren't they reacting the way I think? Why aren't they reacting the way I'd like them to react? Is it the sound?
Right.
Is it the way we're playing? Is something wrong? Usually, I could say for most of our friends and colleagues that they're really great. So odds are it's not the music, but the sound might not be right, and it's not traveling to the listener, so it's not really captivating them. But when you're online and it's a one-way, I don't have that feedback, and it's on top of that, it's through a screen, so it's hard to make that connection. But I think, if you get real dialed in and things you have a team working with you, maybe then, or you could have more interactive things, people calling in, that could make it fun. But people who are successful with that would be like a Mark Rebillet, but Mark Rebillet is just putting on a show. It's a little different. It's hard. With the piano and mic and the phone, I didn't get it quite dialed in. When it was cool, it was cool. And when it wasn't, it wasn't. So I'd have to still dial that in. But it's a lot of fun. The whole thing is about the moment. It's like jazz, right? You're like living in the moment. When someone says something to me, I can't prepare for that. And I just kind of ride the wave,
Well, and it actually, it's funny you said that, because I actually felt like the Amazon stream with Twin was like really hard for me, like emotionally, mentally, to like, it's like, okay, I want to be creative, and like with that band, like if we're improvising or even if we're not, whatever, it's like, it's a very like, you need the response, like, and it's just, and now it's just like cameras and like, but there is an audience, but you can't see them, and it's just a very like vulnerable feeling.
Yeah,
and even just like monitoring, and I'm really happy with how it went, and Daza killed it with the monitoring, but it's just like when you're in cans and you're trying to feel it, like when you're on stage, you feel it in your body, the low end and everything, and so it's like, even in it, I feel like it would be even easier if you could get which you can't. I mean, you got to make sound to sound. You got to, if you want to isolate sound, you want to be able to, you got to do the cans, you got to do the whole thing. I get it. But even if you had removed that would make it a little easier.
Oh, I agree. Totally. I was talking about this, shout out to Armando. I was talking about this with him, this very topic last night, about the whole thing about recording and cans. And I mean, I suppose if you're not a musician, it might be harder to relate to, but when we're playing, we're feeling the room, there's energy, the sound, like it's being pushed through the air. And when you wear headphones, it really changes the dynamic. Imagine wearing in-ears and singing to an audience and you can't hear the response back. It just feels weird, So I definitely relate to that. And it's now when you said that, I just try to visualize what that was like. Imagine what that was like. And you're trying to put on a show and you're like, I want to be creative. And it sucks when you have to think, I want to be creative. And, like that's kind of can get in the way, right?
Totally.
And then like if there's but there were at least a crew, right? There's some people filming, so there's some people to vibe off. But the problem is, I did laugh at sometimes because you might make a joke and there's no response. So some of those moments are magical, but other moments where you want to have, woo,
Yeah.
you get like da-na-now.
Okay, everybody.
Okay, hey,
Yeah.
So make sure to go to Twitch and
Right.
So
but I mean,
so that those lulls, it can be weird.
But in your case, couldn't you pre-record? Like if you enjoyed the creative element of like mixing comedy and music, and that was something you got off on, like why couldn't you just pre-record it?
I think that's where the solution is actually. So
it's the live element in and of itself you don't like.
You can still do it live, but the whole issue is that things go wrong. I've noticed when you're transferring it through Thing and you're going through Zoom and you're going through, even if I make all these preparations and I dot my I's and cross my T's, it won't work. So the move is really to pre-record it in that, yes, it can still be live, but I won't stream it until I know the sound is dialed in, everything is to our what we want, because we have a certain
standard.
A standard, exactly. Right. Thank you. Like where you want it to sound a certain, it's got to be excellent,
Yeah.
So it's like, damn, like you put all this effort in, you put all this energy, you put your heart on your sleeve, you get weird, you have fun, and then it's like, oh, that sounds like doo doo. Sound like doo doo, Tammy.
Well, but I mean, it's like, but you have, I mean, it's not like you don't. I mean, you have to keep in mind it's your ear listening back to yourself. Because I get so self-critical with my stuff too. So I mean, it's like I know you know how to judge it objectively, but you can't help but know there's some subjectiveness to that because Anyway, I want to move on. Are you from Miami originally?
I'm born and raised here. Yep.
Okay, but I know you spent time in L.A. and I was always curious what got you out there, like what you thought about it versus here, and why you came back.
So the time I left was 2007, 2008, and at that time I was just kind of like in school, and I was like, I felt there was nothing going on. So like the Miami, you got to like play in and come up in with your bands and stuff like that. That wasn't here. There wasn't a Wynwood. There wasn't any of that. None of that stuff existed. There wasn't any of that kind of energy, like kind of bubbling underneath. I felt it was at that time. I felt kind of stagnant. And in my life, I was going to, like, my music school was kicking my ass. I was going to the New World School of the Arts, but I was a classical composition major.
Wow.
And so it was just like I
didn't know that about you.
Yeah. So that was kicking, because the way I did the math was I was like, I want to be like a Quincy Jones. Let me understand orchestration. I want to be a beast. So I went to that school, and I don't have a classical upbringing at all. So that school was kicking my ass, and just it was stressful to do that while living at home, and it was a rigorous thing. And a couple things were going on in my life. I was just like, you know what? I just want to pack up, and I want to just move away. And so I just want to pursue. I just wanted something told me to go out that way. I actually had one of my best friends. He's telling me, hey, I'm moving out to LA. And like, he told me like with a month. He's like, I'm moving out to LA. I was like, oh, me too. Because it's funny, I had this pool already happening. Something was pulling me. And then he told me that. I was like, oh, cool, I'm going too. So I lived out that way about 4 or 5 years. And I mean, it was very hard, but it was also super exciting. Because you're rubbing shoulders with people, and like you go to this jam, and you left that night, and 30 minutes later, Prince showed up. Or I would go to another jam, and I left, and then Slash would show up. And then I would that same jam, I would go every Monday night to this blues jam. It was pretty cool, actually, and met some really nice people there. And I missed like 2. And this friend of mine, this girl Jordan, she'd be like, "You're not gonna believe what happened." I was like, "What?" Slash showed up. I was like, "That's sick." I was like, "Okay, well," and then I keep going. And the ones I happened to not go to, she would go to. And it's like, "You're not gonna believe what happened." I was like, "What?" Slash showed up with Jim Carrey. and they sang Black Betty. I go, what? That sounds hilarious. It's amazing. So there were times where I would run in with people and I would like connect to people that were somehow affiliated with things that were like things that I worshipped, and like would then get to meet these really like impressive people that have done some incredible things. But at the same time, it's a really hard city to live in if you're on your own, and it was very tough. But I feel like it gave me a lot of perspective. You know, life kind of brought me back. I lived there. I did that for about 5 years, and kind of life.
That's a long time.
Life brought me back home. Yeah.
I mean, that's a solid. Good for you. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, like you gave it a proper amount of time, 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was homesick. I hadn't seen my dad in a couple of years. I was like, let me move back. Let me just kind of go.
Were
back.
you doing like a day job, or were you?
No. When I moved back, I was in LA and I was suffering, and I was offered a cruise ship gig. Tammy, the stories, exactly, the stories of that, insane. So I did that for a couple months, and then after that, I arrived back to LA because they send you back. Had I wanted to go to Miami, if I gave them enough time, they could have routed me back to come to Miami directly. So I literally landed in LA, and when I landed, I bought a ticket to Miami, and I never went back.
Wait, so what year did you get back here?
So I got back here. What's that? Like 2013, 2012, something like that.
So it was the scene was bubbling, was starting to really bubble up right when you got here. You must have been like, oh.
Exactly.
There's shit going on.
Right. So when I came back, I'm like, what is all this? There's an energy here, you know?
Yeah.
And that made the transition back feel more like the right one. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I wasn't missing, you know. Cuz like here it's like they say that expression like you can be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond, that kind of thing. The pond in LA is pretty big, and all your competition is insane. Mm-hmm. Think about it. All your heroes are your competition, so it's nuts. So in the way of cutting your teeth, it's a great experience, you know? I don't regret it at all. I don't feel like in my immediate future I'd want to go back necessarily. But it's the kind of thing that once established, I would want to be there once established, you know? It's like you can use boxing as an analogy. I wouldn't want to go there if I'm not ready. Like if I'm just in sparring shape and I haven't had experience in the ring, like you have to go there ready to get in the ring. You know, that's how I feel about LA, and that was then, and my age when I was then, you know, that sort of things. I think now I would definitely have a different, more conservative way of approaching it. Have more money saved up, you know, go for certain moves. But it was pretty dope, man. The experiences I gained living. It's kind of lonely, and it's sort of people are very superficial, and it can be weird at times, but it's definitely pretty wild.
Was there any like highlight gigs, highlight moments?
I'll give you a cool story. So I just got to LA and I was crashing at my cousin's house, and he was very kind to me. He let me stay with him for 3 months. Very nice of him. And I wanted to go to this place called Cozy's. So Cozy's, what can I compare it to? Maybe like a Boogie's, maybe. And it was sort of a restaurant / blues bar. It was pretty dope. I've seen a lot of great players play in that room. There's a guy by the name escapes me now, but when I think of it later, it'll come to me. Remember that girl Orianthe?
I don't.
She plays guitar. A lot of guitar players I'd see through there, but there's one guy.
It makes sense.
What's it? Jubu Smith. Bro, look him up. Okay. I know Digo's listening, and he might be. But of those West Coast players, this guy is amazing, and he was very nice to me. He let me. I got to hang with him and his crew one time. We went to the studio where D'Angelo would hang out at. Dude, it was like really cool. It's funny because going there, actually, the crew of people that I would connect with the most, or there's a lot of gospel players that were really cool, and I would at least go to their jams and try to blend in or try to hang if I could. But I digress. Why did I mention that? You're saying about experiences. So this place would be a lot of great musicians would play, a lot of great guitar players would play, and Jubu blew my mind watching him there, and a lot of people, and I'm trying to think of some random people, but a lot of people who are sidemen on records that you love. I saw what's the name of the guy who heads up Jimmy Vivino from Conan O'Brien's band. He would have a residency there.
Yeah.
So people who had like just random bunch of people. My first week in LA, I was like, I want to get out. I want to go to a jam. I want to meet people. So I go to this place, Cozy's, that I was just talking about. And it was like, I don't know, let's say it was like a Thursday night. And I walk in, there's maybe like 6-7 people in the room. And Queen Latifah's there. You just walk in the room and Queen Latifah's hanging out. Super random.
Yeah.
And you walk in and there's so few people that you kind of like, hey, it's like almost you kind of blend in so you're not weird, like you're walking into this bar. And then I talked to this guy, Little Charlie, who's an incredible guitar player. He's the guy you hear on 1 Minute Man, Missy Elliott. This he's on a lot of records. He's on a lot of Usher. Like the guy's, he's a bad boy. Anyways, he was on, his band was playing. It was like an R&B night. And I said, hey, I'm Gene. I play keys. I would love to sit in, whatever. He goes, cool. Actually, we could use your help because it's Queen's birthday today. And could you play Happy Birthday? And I go, man, what a trippy like intro to the city. Going to this place where there's 6 people.
Yeah.
It's Queen Latifah's birthday, and I'm playing Happy Birthday for her. If I were to see her one day, I could say, do you remember that time when you went to the bar? She might remember,
Yeah.
And so there's little things like that. I played at I played in a band, and God, what's his name? Daryl Robinson. Jesus, no, I'm saying the name wrong. From The Office. Forgetting his name.
I know you're talking about.
Craig Robinson. He plays Daryl on The Office.
Right.
I had a little dyslexia thing there. He came and sat in a couple of times with that band. It was super cool.
What's he play? Does he sing?
He sings and plays keys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Just like random, just a lot of randomness. I had my one of my students was the creator of I was teaching like kids and adults how to play in ensembles through a prototype that Guitar Center had, which was called GC Studios. And I'm the very first person who ever taught. I built sort of an ensemble program with them. And it was cool because I would meet some executive people, and there we had all kinds of celebrities. The Jacksons came to rehearse there. Skinny Puppy came to rehearse there. Solomon Burke. You ever heard of Solomon Burke?
The name sounds
Legend. He came to rehearse there.
Diego, we better be taking notes back there. We got to look up all this stuff.
We'll do a after pod playlist that we show music we should all listen to. And there, oh no, I had to digress because I'm trying to remember why I brought up the thing. We're talking about funny experiences, right?
Yeah.
There's something that happened to me. There's a lot of things that happened to me there. I'm already forgetting. Solomon Burke.
The Queen Latifah birthday is. I'm liking that. That's the image in my head alone is.
Yeah. Damn it. I'm already. So I taught this class, and one of my students was Butch Hartman. Butch Hartman created the Fairly Odd Parents, the cartoon. He was my student. So one Christmas, he had me over to his mansion and like hanging out. Like LA was incredible. Yeah. When it was good, it was good, and when it was bad, it was bad. It was tough, and I'd have to think of all the random things, but it's pretty wild.
So when you got back here, was it your intention to get into the band scene, or were you like, I'm gonna side man? Like, because I know, I bring this up because I wanted to talk about live at City of Progress with Armando and Andres and Camilo, and just. Were these guys you knew, were these relationships you had before you left, and did you come back and? So
Armando's family we've all known since we were younger. Armando and I both went to the same parochial school. And as a matter of fact, I played in the church choir, and Armando was probably like 9 at the time. So when I leave Miami in my head, I go off to high school, no longer play in that church. It's like a parochial school to 8th grade, whatever. Go off to high school. Go to college, move to LA. And when I come back, in my head, I last see Armando as like a 9-year-old. But then I walk into Titanic one night, and there's this guy playing. Who's that guy, Timmy? It sounds like Brian Blade, Timmy.
Who is that guy?
And so I was like, Armando? I was like, holy crap. And then it's like, here he is grown up. It was amazing. So that's a relationship that's fostered from way back, but not in a musical sense, but our families go back and that sort of thing. And
that's cool.
Yeah. And I think what happens was over time, a pool just happened. I kind of always wanted to be sort of in the limelight. I wanted to be a producer guy and play on records and write for other people. But something just gravitated me this way to try to write on my own as far as songwriting is concerned, But I just didn't know if I wanted to put it out there and be in the spotlight of it all. I just wanted to maybe write for other people.
Okay.
Was the mindset I had before. So then just kind of things just worked, and I said, let me try writing. This is my first really attempt. I saw Ray Thistlethwaite, Sun Ray. I saw him play left-hand bass and sing, and I go, that's a thing? You could do that? So I tried it.
Yeah.
I barely got by, but I was like, because there's too many good bass players and everyone's busy. So I'm like, let me see if I can do this. And then I can do a gig and survive with, I can call my guitar player and drummer, and we have a band sound, you know, playing keys and left-hand bass and this sort of thing. You understand, you know, you're in an organ trio.
Yeah.
So that was how it started initially. And then Camilo crushed it. Armando crushed it. I honestly, if I'm being very candid, it's like hard to listen to that. That was all done in one day, by the way.
So wait, Andres isn't on that record.
Andres is not on that record.
Okay, my fault.
It's me playing left-hand bass, Armando's on drums, and Camilo's on guitar.
Okay.
And that was all recorded in one day. All those songs in a room, and I didn't know.
That's how Spam does it, baby.
I didn't know better, and they warned me. They did about the drum bleed.
Right.
And so obviously when you raise the mic, you're raising the drums against the drums that are already in the mix. So I made it very hard for my mentor who helped me, who mixed it for me. And
well, he dialed it in. It sounds clean. It doesn't sound like some sort of.
Just that I wasn't super happy with my singing, and it's like it was a great experience and great first record.
Yeah.
So that's just me, Camilo, and Armando.
I feel it's so important, man. Like you were using a boxing analogy. You got to break the ice, man. It's like cats get too caught up on making the best first record. Your first record is not going to be the best.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of songwriting, it's like this is a craft. We all do this as professional musicians, as whatever. It's like we set ourselves against the best of the best, the whoever's, and it's like the best of the best.
They all started somewhere, right?
Right, and the best of the best bands, you know, they were I mean, you got to hand it to them. I mean, it's like it is something to look up to be, you know, Radiohead or Smashing Pumpkins. But at the end of the day, it's like you can't let that kind of stuff stop you from breaking the ice and getting that first record done. And it's like you said, it's like you gotta just get in there, take what you can, and throw it in a blender and press the button, and you got to pour it in a cup and you got to drink it. And you might not like it.
Yeah.
It may need a little honey. It may need a little sugar. Well, that's why there's post-production. And then you take it to the best you can, and then that lives, and you move on. And it's like, but if you don't break the ice, it's so hard. You're not going to get to that next one.
Right.
So
the rationale I had with doing the live record was so that I didn't have to worry about too much on the back end.
Right.
So I just forced myself into that situation where if I do it live, it has to be good. Mm-hmm. Like we can't do a live record and it suck. So I was like, I have to put myself up to that challenge.
Right.
So that was the thing. But that has since morphed, and now I have that band. Then became Aaron Libos on guitar, Armando stayed on drums, and I just dropped the left hand bass thing because I can't do that Tammy and try to entertain people and say
it's okay.
So then I had Andres come in on bass, and that was the last iteration of the Gene Paul band. That's
great. And I feel like I saw a post recently on your Instagram. You're gearing up to do another. Yeah.
So
record.
now the new effort is with them, but I kind of want to drop the Gene Paul band thing. I want to move into a new direction as sort of like I kind of, at least my vision is sort of do like a tasteful rock, like really nice rock band for however that means. So that's the desire, and I don't want to pen the songs and then bring them to the guys. I want it to be a collaborative thing. So that's what we're working on now.
Is it still going to be lyrical, or is it going to be
I'll be singing and playing, but the vibe now is I want it to be a collaborative thing, so I have the same guys. I think that's great, man. I mean, I really like we're in. I was thinking about this, or maybe I was talking about it with someone the other day. But it's cool. We're in an era where everyone's like, how can I do everything myself in a room and put 100 of my heads in a square and play guitar and play keys and there's guys killing that. And I'm not hating on it. And there's guys I follow who I love watching what they're doing with it. But okay, there is something to chemistry, energy transference between human beings. You cannot replace that. Getting in a room with people, feeling each other's vibe, writing music,
They call it a band.
Yeah.
That's the difference between 5 genes on a square with your little heads floating around. And look, it's like I'm being facetious a little bit. I'm kidding, but it's like it is like I'm sure you feel, because Armando's going to bring in something that's going to inspire you. It's going to alter the sound of the band. Libos is going to do the same thing. All those guys, and you respect. And it's not like you're just like. These aren't guys you're like, hey, here's $50 for rehearsal. Here's how much the gig pays, and like create this sort of inorganic relationship. These are guys who care about you. You care about them. They believe in you. You know their talents. It's like that, and it's an easy jump off point. And we're lucky we have that in Miami, and we have these relationships we've developed over time. You don't have, a lot of guys. And you were in LA, you probably saw this a lot where, it's so big, it's so spread out. It's like, okay, I like how this guy plays at the jam session. I like this guy. And you're like, hey, here's $20. Here, show it. Or you're like, hey, come over. Let's. And that's hard to start a band on that. Like, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's hard. And then to then have that and then respect it and be like, let's make the process collaborative. I think that's good. I think that's gonna.
But that's very hard to find those people that are up to it,
dedicated.
You have the chemistry,
right?
And then you can foster those relationships, and you guys love each other, and that you can,
absolutely
like, get through. You could all sit in like in a van going somewhere for
and
forever.
They're killing.
And they're killing.
You're not just like, Tommy on the drums is a little rough around the edges, but he's a good spirit. No, you got Armando on there. Like these guys are gonna hold it down, and you're gonna do all these things you're saying.
I kind of almost feel like it's like, what's the point if we're not sharing with other people? That's kind of how I got to feeling about it. I don't want to do some music and have some people play on it. I don't, and these are my friends, and they were very kind to me to put their love and input into it. But I want, in my, let's just be talking about in my case, or just in general, I just kind of want to do. I just felt in the spirit of wanting to do something a little more involving other people to want to share their voices. Armando is not only an excellent drummer, but he's killing it as a producer too. And he's got great ideas, Yeah. And so, my hope is that's what I want this next project to be. Is it'll be. I don't have a name, so you can help me come up with the name. But
before the end, we'll get really stoned with Diego after this, and
we'll get really
and then we'll put names on a hat.
So that's what I hope to be the next thing is sort of to be a new rock band with the same guys and all of us writing together.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well. You also have, just looking at my list here, you have a little, you're a side career writing, production credits with big names, and recent tours with Latin artists. So, outside of your own project, you want to talk a little bit about what you've been up to?
Sure.
Diego Torres, I know you have a track with, I'm going to say butcher the name, Jorge Villamizar.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, I have as a sideman recorded or performed with people like Alejandro Sanz, David Bisbal, Mark Anthony, Carlos Vives, like people that are like high profile Latin artists. And with Diego Torres, I started playing with him last year, and when we were on the road, I linked up with Jorge Villamizar, who's the leader of Basilos. A lot of people don't know this, or at least I suppose more of the American people will not know this, but Jorge is responsible for writing a bunch of hits. There's a big salsa tune called Yo No Sé Mañana, which you've probably heard it before.
Yo No Sé Mañana.
Very good. Yeah, exactly. That one. So he penned that tune. And George is a great writer, and I knew that. Yeah, and actually Diego played with him for a bit when he was doing a solo thing. Anyways, I knew that George was a good writer, and Basilos and Diego Torres, whom I was playing keyboards with Diego, we were co-headlining going around Latin America. That was freaking awesome, dude. That was pretty killing. So I was connecting with George. He's like, oh, we should go. He's very sweet. He's like, hey, we should go to La Ñap. We should do this. And I was like, you know what? You could do me one better. Why don't we write a song? It was always funny because he's being so nice. I was like, I don't know if this guy's being real with me or not. And I was like, let's
test it.
I was like, cool. Yeah. Why don't we? Let's do one better. Let's write a song together. He's like, okay, cool. And I was like, this guy's not gonna.
Right.
So I was on him trying to get to write a song, bro. We sat down to write the song. It was so organic. We met up at Vice City Coffee, whatever. And we're just talking about life. He told me some crazy stories, and we're just like just like how we are now, but getting deep and talking. And then he's like, I had this idea for the song where I had this experience. He told me this crazy story, and about how I was in someone's company and the sun was coming up and like all these cool metaphors. And I was like, oh, dope. So we basically wrote 75% of the song in that one sitting. It was killing. And actually, what ended up coming out was after it came back to Diego's team, they kind of changed it a little bit. I think the first version was actually a little more sophisticated. But that was a really great experience, and I'm very happy that George was kind enough to let me have that experience writing with him, and our chemistry was killing. We perfectly fit. So that was my first my first credit on a major label release, writing in Spanish stuff. So coming up
That's
here,
awesome, man.
yeah, it's
Congrats.
awesome. Thanks. So coming up here, I'm the son of Cuban immigrants. I sort of speak Spanish, but because of this, where we live, Miami is such a hub for all this Latin stuff. So I kind of just wound up in a lot of these Latin things. Yeah, professionally, it's the most high profile stuff I've done.
Yeah, that's like, we talk about LA has these like hubs of touring that you can like pop and rock, whatever, that like you got to be there for that. The Latin pop scene is here. Yeah. And you can take advantage of it, and you can, you
really can.
You can have got cool opportunity. When I was doing the Denai Suarez stuff.
That's right.
Which is it's not pop, but it's it's its own niche Latin whatever world beat hip hop thing, and it was just fun, man, to like have like I don't know the opportunities to learn what it's like to work with people who you really don't have a connection with, and like they're an artist and you're their employee, and then how those lines are drawn, their person, Yeah. Did you, when you were touring with Diego Torres, did you like what's your relationship with him like
He's
on the road?
Really sweet dude.
Yeah. And
I was very lucky because I don't know how the timeline works, but I think I was already teaching his daughter, coincidentally, something to that effect. Because coincidentally, I both taught Jorge, his son, still do, and taught Diego's daughter around the same time. So I don't remember what came first. But they were kind of all in this sort of community. And through the community, I was referred to the live band. And there wasn't even really a tryout. It was like, hey, come to the rehearsals, and these are the songs. And then all the songs were medleyed together. And I wasn't given titles of the tunes. So I was like, oh, crap, I have a lot of music to learn. And I don't know what the songs are. And so instead of like copying the records, I had to copy these arrangements of the tunes. So that's how it kind of got thrown in there. And somewhere, I think through this community, and his daughter was at the school, somehow we connected there, and then that kind of all happened together. It was actually pretty symbiotic, pretty dope how that all worked out. And he's a very sweet guy, really cool, down-to-earth dude. Was very nice to me. Gave me the opportunity with the song. Well, usually sometimes those artists won't let you have that opportunity.
Right.
But I was in the camp, and I was like, let's try to do this. I got George's involvement. He's an artist, so I was like, let's do this thing.
That's
and
what it takes
they all just went,
right?
Yeah.
You need someone to give you a break.
Right. It was just a confluence of things coming together, and I was like, dope. And they took a chance on it. The pandemic happened. I was like, damn, maybe this is not going to happen. They were ramping up for it to happen. I was like super excited. The pandemic happened. They changed the storyline a little bit to accommodate to the pandemic. So which I didn't know, but this is happening behind the scenes. I'm like, I hope it comes out, and it did. So it all worked out. Yeah, but he's a real nice dude, gentleman.
That's all. Do you think you'll be kind of jumping back in the saddle whenever touring?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Those are good gigs.
I bet. And it's so bizarre just thinking about touring, like on that, what artists on that level are doing. I don't know.
Well, maybe this was all meant to happen so that we can all work on our own projects. I do think that,
absolutely.
man, to be honest.
Well, and there's no better motivation to get back into your own self, your own creativity, than not having the opportunity to. And that type of work, it takes a lot of energy. And like, Jason and I were talking about this with this recent Twin EP and the stuff like that, just having the time. And I feel like everybody feels this way, but it's like, you put that pressure on yourself when you're in your normal life. You're gigging. Well, I still got to write a record. I still got to produce the record. You still got to get it all together. But you're running around to gigs. You're running around to teaching. And you got to do that stuff. Eventually we're gonna get back into that place where we're gonna have to do that. But having that time to really sit with something and not have anything else to focus on is huge. Makes me think that, why not block off time in the future?
And thanks for being candid about that, because people listening, I don't think people don't really understand the musician life.
No.
Or they don't get it. So it's true. Sometimes and it's very humbling.
It's humbling.
The fact that we have to do these other things like teaching and playing and
Of course.
this and that. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, it's. I'll never forget this article. Mackay McCraven, incredible drummer, producer, band leader, out of Chicago, and he's made huge waves now and everything. But he had this awesome, like, really candid interview talking about the life of a musician. He's like, one day, he's like, I'm playing Montreal Jazz. I'm paraphrasing, it may not be that festival, but playing some big jazz festival, and they're catering the food, and you're treated like royalty, and you're treated like an artist should be treated, and have a green room and all this stuff. And then the next day you fly home and you're wheeling your drums through a hotel lobby to play a corporate, and you're not even really supposed to be seen on the breaks, and that's paying the bills. And it's really hard to explain this to normal people in the world, because and Micaiah says this in the article, again I'm paraphrasing, like, he's on the plane, he's someone sitting next to him type of conversation about what he does. Oh, I'm a musician. And what's the first question you're going to get? Are you in a band?
Right.
I mean, I
was just talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the question you get. And I'm so exhausted by, like, it's funny because when I go to the boxing gym and stuff, like, I just want to be all about the boxing and be in my world. But, people are curious. They see social media, and it's like, so what to break down what it is that we do professionally. It's like, well, yeah, I have, my two groups, but I also, play corporate gigs, and I also would, teach, and I also play freelance gigs, and I'm not ranking any hierarchy here.
But the person you're having a conversation with is, because that's equivalent to success.
Right.
Are you in a band is da 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 da.
Right.
And then
Are
they
you
go,
in Green Day?
Yeah, and then they go right, and then they go, oh, I've heard of that band or not.
Exactly.
There's no in between.
Right.
Unless they had a relationship where they had a family member who was a musician in whatever capacity. People they can't relate to it.
They can't relate to it. They don't understand. And it's important that we, educate them because it's going to get us more, I think, it gives us more respect in these kind of offbeat gigs where people, are going to understand, well, yeah, you may be at a bar or something and these are some background guys, but you don't know what they're doing. You don't have the ears to know the level that's going into this. But, what it brings me back to what I was, all this to say as this applies to writing is that, like, makes me want to, like, lose a little money when I can, make it work financially, to take a week to write, to just block it all out, the noise out, because I really do feel like that'll influence the art. And it's not like this is an original concept that I came up with. It's like people have been doing this forever, and people don't understand. It's like in back when the record labels were successful, they were giving these guys credit cards to just take the time to go fuck around, do whatever they want with all this money, and just show up and make this record. I remember Matt Schofield was telling me, so his original band has this drummer, I'm forgetting the name of the guy because I'm so bad with remembering names. I think it's Evan, but he killing drummer, and he was like locked in with this one guy, this keyboard player out there who has all these like big like pop connections, whatever. Anyway, he's just talking about these having like the record label's black card or whatever, like credit card to just go to town with and like go just get smashed in the city and then come back and get I mean, that's the level of bread that was being kind of just shelled out back then.
The legends are they even had supposedly or purportedly they had like money set aside for drugs for the bands.
Oh yeah.
Just so that they can, like, these guys are all strung out. We need to push out another record. Let's just get these guys what they need just so we can
Coke
get this
budget.
done. It's crazy, man.
I mean, it's real.
It's a different, wild times.
Yeah.
It's a very different time to now. Now we have the opposite of that, right? Now everyone's indie and having,
doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I always find it funny. Hope I don't piss anybody off with saying this, but when I hear people like, "Oh yeah, I'm working for a label," or it's like, interesting. That's the business you want to get your foot in the door. The building's it's like there's a building like collapsing, like you see the roof,
and you're on the way in.
and you're like, "Oh, I'm taking the elevator up." You're like, "Well, the floor it's on fire up there."
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but I mean, I feel like there's just so many better ways to, like, I mean, if that's what you want to do, be involved in like pop music and you got to find your footing and whatever, like, more props to you. But there is so many like creative ways to get involved in this game that are going to serve the community, serve real musicians more. And there's people doing it in town. And it's just, we're trying to figure out that what are musicians, what is it going to be how do we monetize these things? We're talking about live streams, we're talking about all these little things, and now it's the pandemic, but it's like we got to be able to monetize these records, these streams, and you know, I hope in the future there'll be some kind of, I don't know what the word is, but political shift in terms of what we're making off these streams, because it's crazy.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, the Spotify numbers, it's
wrong.
just, it's hard.
Yeah, it's really wrong.
You know, we need more. And, you know, there's guys at the top who have vocalized it, but they don't have the power. And I don't know. Well, at some point it shifted. I remember being a kid, Napster came out, Kazaa, like, shit.
Kazaa, LimeWire.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And I was getting all that. And that was just, but I mean, it was like, other than that, I had to, you know, mow the lawn for like a month, and then I get like, you know, the new CD. I mean, it's like, because it's $15, $20 for a hard disk. Like, you're not just going to, you know, well, my parents, like, no, you're 10 years old, I'm going to just buy, you know, you're going to, you know, work here. But it's like, okay, now I can get on the internet and just get 1,000 for free. It's tough.
It's wrong.
It is.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you were saying that, like, some of your teaching stuff has like snowballed into like performance opportunities, and I just wanted you to like talk a little bit about Guitars Over Guns and all the like amazing work they're doing, the work you're doing with them.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great organization. I've never said this before, but I actually selfishly wanted to get involved because I wanted to get closer to Chad. I knew Chad was doing such great stuff, and I had just moved back, so I had heard about Guitars Over Guns, but this is back then, and I saw they were looking for a position for someone to be a keyboard mentor. And I was like, man, that Chad guy, he's got it going on.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I want to get closer to that guy. He's a mover and shaker. That's kind of like the mentality I had. So for selfish reasons, I was like, I want to get in because I want to get closer to this person. It's, you know. And here we are all these years later. More about the organization. They're great. They are, I can say, from the bottom of my heart, they're actually doing good. Like, they're making change. I've gone to the schools where that they're serving, and there's a lot of love needed in a lot of these places in many different ways. And so these kids find, you know, music or art or dance as an outlet, and it's super dope to see that because these kids really need it. Yeah. Some of these kids are like, you find out they don't want to go home. They really don't. They really prefer to just stay at school and not go home. It's sad, but it's true. And just for them to have this little outlet, just a little escape in their worlds, you know, for people that, you know, I grew up very privileged. I never had to worry about, you know, how I was getting home or what I was getting home to, you know. I didn't have those problems. And I really feel for these kids that they had to, you know, there's a lot of suffering in a lot of these communities.
Yeah.
So it's super dope to see these kids really, really grow into like incredible people. You meet a kid and they just don't talk. Like, really sweet kid, but they just won't say much. And then you get to know them over years, and like here they are now. They're like talking in front of their class. It's beautiful to see that, man. So it's a great org. I mean, I will always be a champion for GoGo. Awesome, they're doing great stuff. I hope everybody gets involved if it pulls them.
Yeah, it's really like. It's pretty incredible what Chad's built, and I'm so glad it got the notoriety and the exposure, you know. And it's like he's such a great person to lead something like that, because it's not easy to, you know, you can have a great idea and the intentions can be benevolent, but it's not. I mean, it's still it's so much work.
It's a lot of work. People, it's a lot of work. Not just anybody can do that. Yeah, he's taking it on and it's doing great. Yeah. They're all over the place now. I think they're just starting now and on the West Coast now. Just started.
Really?
Something going on in LA. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's what you got to do. I mean, expand I mean, because there's so many communities that I feel like if anything could be great. I mean, obviously, you know, sports has always been an outlet for people in tough communities, but I mean, those art is so expansive and lifelong, and I just feel like there's more you can get from having a real music program than even maybe just a sick athletic department where, you know, and like it makes me miss the drumline days, and like I teched at my high school, and I went to Palmetto. It's not like it's a bunch of underprivileged children, but they're, you know, it's a mix, and so you have that opportunity to teach, you know, somebody who's like very well off and somebody who has a is struggling or has it tougher, and putting them together and building that foundation
That's
of
really
love.
cool. Yeah.
And you're all equal, with this stuff. That's the thing. It's like, it's not like, everyone's just, it's all about the work. I mean, of course there's talent or whatever, but these, when you're young and it's like, whatever. But, it's a little different in sports. People get weeded out very early, and, it's about success, kind of
Right.
immediate success.
Yeah.
There's not that same pressure so much with music, you know what I mean, about like
Yeah.
winning.
Right.
And even in drumline or that format, it's like, yeah, or in music, like, yeah, there is competition, like, inherently, but there's no, like, scoreboard with numbers on it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, especially in programs like that. It's like all about them just trying to express themselves. Yeah, it's really cool to watch the kids like, I don't know if I can do this.
right.
I never played an instrument before. And then when they come out of it on the other end, it's just super dope to see that.
And you're a great personality and person to be in that position, man.
Thanks. I feel like I didn't have the right guidance in the way of music instruction when I was younger. I kind of had to like figure that out like by the time I got to college. And I had a really good high school music teacher, but by then it's already it feels almost like it's too late, So yeah, it's just we're all trying to learn this music thing. So
Right.
I try to keep it fun if I can, I hope.
Well, you can't underestimate having a good teacher at the right time.
Oh my God.
It's so
You're kidding?
hard to find.
What?
It's everything.
So a lot of the successful people, especially in the world of jazz, a lot of those people went to those magnet high
yeah.
schools. You see it. You look up their resume. Like a lot of them were in the public school education system. They had a good teacher, most usually, and they had a great magnet. I wish I had that. I wish I went through that route because my life, my trajectory would have been very different.
Yeah.
The right teacher, the right mentor. Oh,
Well, and it's funny you say that because it can go both ways. There are some guys who it burns them out early.
It's true.
And it also kind of shapes your vision of music.
Yeah.
Very like this is like what music, this. I mean,
they become
we're-
jaded too.
Jaded.
They get burned out. Yeah.
Burned out. A little unidimensional maybe on the jazz front, and knowing like, yes, it's great to have these great institutions, but institutionalized music is not in and of itself the only path, and it's certainly not the path
Right.
for creative
Right.
pursuits.
It's like everything, yin and yang. But
It's
when
the-
I see a lot of the guys coming
Oh.
out of UM, they're all fucking badass.
Oh,
dude.
well, and I mean, I was just I was just a scrub, like mushroom growing on this very fertile tree at UM, trying to claw my, and thank God, for Steve Rucker and Jason Furman, the guys who gave me a chance to be part of that program because of basically the work that they saw I was doing, not because I was like killing at all. And being around in that program around Mike, the guy I graduated with, Mike Pilot, Matt Carroll, like two drummers who showed up 18 years old.
And they were already beast mode, yeah.
Beast mode and fluid language. It almost makes you wonder, is there I don't know. This is something I've thought about like in retrospect, like if you get a guy like that and it's like, yeah, okay, they got to keep developing their playing. I mean, that's forever, right? But it's like, let's segue you into a different program. Like the performance.
Oh, cool. You're going to play songs. Like, is that what you mean?
No, I
they're
mean
gonna...
like let's get you into the recording thing. Let's get you into this because I feel like that would have been beneficial for me too in some way. Like,
so you could have had more time to.
well, I mean, I just like guiding the things that are going to be important besides just like killing at your instrument.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh, you're into like pocket playing or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
well, let's get you into the studio and like let's get with the click and like this is how you record drum. Not that they didn't do that. I'm just saying like,
Yeah.
when you're in that jazz track, and this is kind of like the sports mentality, and you're killing, people want to put you in front of the killing donors
Sure.
to show you how killing their program is, so they keep
Sure.
giving them that money.
Sure, that money.
That money. Now, I mean, maybe I'm saying some politically charged stuff, but I mean, it's real.
There's truth to that, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be here. It could be any schools like that, yeah.
Right.
I think it comes down to two things. When you're in that environment, you're building your community. All those people you still, play with, and right? And secondly, it's almost like little challenges. When you're in music school, they're like, hey, you have to do this technical thing. And you go, that's so weird. Like, I didn't think of this. And you get through it, and you're like, wow, I'm a little more like adept at what's going on, So it comes down to that. Like, they throw some weird shit in your, hey, you have to transcribe some Roy Haynes thing. It's like, okay, like whatever you're doing or
Right.
whatever anybody's doing, right? So it's like,
Well, I certainly wouldn't be anywhere without having been in that melting pot and
Yeah.
and like just the pressure and
Yeah.
then being around guys like I was just saying, Mike and Matt and
it's a
many
good-
a
very-
Dan Sussinger.
It's a very good thing. I don't shit on music schools at all.
No,
Not
and,
at all.
and you know, it's just you need to be in an environment where you can be like get your ass kicked to like have that perspective of where you're at and what the levels are out there, because there
Yeah.
is levels to this shit, people. There are a long list of levels. Gene, tell me where you're gonna be next live, man. This has been great.
Where am I going to be next live?
Yeah, we want to come see you play. Tell the people how do we
I don't
find
know.
you.
I don't know.
All right, well, we need to get you.
You have some live gigs going on. I don't know. I miss it. I haven't done it in a while. This whole pandemic thing.
Have you been like purposely not like booking little odds and ends?
What
or-
I'd like to do is once I get this project off the ground, I'd like to play with these guys out, and we'll do a little debut of this new music. But I haven't really. I've been playing as a sideman, doing some different stuff around town. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you? Do you have a date on the books for the sessions, or you're gonna just naturally let that band kind of?
So right now we have our first little idea. So we got just before pandemic hit, we got together in like a little space that Armando had, and we just had I was like, let's see if we can get in a room and just play, and I'm gonna capture it all, and hopefully something can come of it. So I took one of those ideas that like it started to take shape. I was like, oh, this is dope. So revisited it just now, like about a year later, and brought it to the guys like, look, these are everyone's contributing really great ideas here. Let's develop this into a song. So more recently, got together with Armando and Andres, and we've been sussing it out and just trying to do pre-production, at least figuring out the form of it and sussing all that out. And so that's where that is, that stage. But I wanna keep doing this. It's very
Fantastic.
exciting. Yeah, I want
Hell
to put out
yeah,
some
man.
new music, Dammy.
Hey, well, promise me, you know, when you get the record done, you'll come back on the pad.
You're the first guy to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, come back on the pod, of course.
And we'll do a post record, you know, like how everything, you know, just get the update on the band, spread the word.
I would love to, teams.
Thanks, dude. Thanks
Thanks
for
for having
doing
me.
this. This was awesome. I forget who my next guest is because I've got a couple guys lined up. But you guys will know on the gram pretty soon. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And you can find Gene Instagram at
Gene Paul Music, Gene Paul Music.
look him up, folks. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.